Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where I'm very pleased to have on the show again Governor Buddy Roemer. The governor's going to talk to us about when he ran for President of the United States, traveled all over the place, and spoke to hundreds of thousands of folks, and what he learned from that, and what he's now working on, a new project. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Governor Buddy Roemer. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, and Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for letting us come into your homes for the last 10 years via Legal Lines. We hope that you've come to a greater understanding of how the law works and how the government works for you. So from all of us, thank you. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show again today our former Governor, Buddy Roemer. Governor,
thank you,
Locke.
So
great to see you again.
Good to be here, man.
You know, we were talking.
The pay is good. The company's great.
We were talking earlier, and you are truly an inspiration because I'm going. He's been what, a 4-term congressman, Harvard educated, been a banker, has a family, was governor of the state. You're 69 years old. Recently had a triple bypass surgery. Diabetics doing, you told me 210 push-ups a day.
105 at each sitting, twice a day.
And you decided to run for President of the United States. Amazing.
And it amazed me.
I'm
glad I did
why.
it. Well,
that's quite an endeavor.
I'm an American and proud of it. I love our country. But I think our country is divided like I've never seen it.
I agree.
It's dysfunctional as a nation. We're not as respected in the world as we ought to be. We're not followed by these other new countries who should follow our issues of freedom and prosperity.
And be inspired by it.
And be inspired by it, right? We should be a mentor, an inspiration, a teacher, but we're not. Why not? And I begin to look at it, having been a congressman, having been a governor, having helped rewrite the Louisiana Constitution 35, 40 years ago. I said, what's wrong? Washington's broken, yeah, but I think it's bought.
And that's quite a statement, Governor.
Let me say it again. Washington's bought. If there's a line of citizens who go to the Congress and want something done, you know who's first in line? The guy with the biggest check.
They get access.
They're first. Congressmen say they need money to get reelected, and they take money from whoever offers it. This much money's never been spent before in reelecting Congress, and they get it from a few. I'll give you a number. Fewer than 1% of American people give a dime.
It's amazing. We're stating it another way. 99% of our population do not contribute
at all
in politics to anyone running.
And they don't count. Now they get to vote, about half of them vote.
Right.
But the big issues are decided not at election day, but in the bills that pass between now and then. And the bills aren't read, they're written by lobbyists, they're written by special interests. And that's what's wrong with America. We have a tax code that you can't read.
Nobody understands the tax code.
It's unfair. It doesn't work for America. We have a budget that's been out of balance for as long as there's been a budget. Obama's budget, and I don't want to pick on, but he is our president. President Obama's current budget is out of balance 10 years from now. It's got 10 years of deficits greater than $1 trillion each.
We can't survive that.
We got a problem. We're in a global competition. We're losing the battle. We have debt that we can't repay. We have special interests running the country, and I think we ought to do something. That's why I ran for president. I don't have the big head. There are better women and men than I to be president. I know that, but they're not running, because the money chases them off.
It's terrifying.
They don't want to have to spend all day raising money. So I decided to use social media.
It's remarkable what you
It's
accomplished,
remarkable.
too.
We had 100,000 contributors to my campaign.
And let's make a point here. You refused to accept any contribution that was greater than $100.
$100. I arbitrarily set that number. It could have been $1,000.
And the government allows contributions up to what, $2,500?
Under the law, but under practicality, it's unlimited.
Because the super PACs and all that don't have, they're not.
Bill Moyer's coming to town in Baton Rouge sometime this month or next. He gave $1 million to Obama. It's legal now. There are no limits on it. And there's no disclosure of who gives the money. So, Locke, you have the worst of both worlds.
No accountability.
No accountability. No limit. No. The people who vote don't know how to make up their mind. If you had to make up your mind based only on television commercials, and I'm not putting television commercials down, but it's like buying a car from a television commercial. I recommend that if you like a commercial, go kick the tires of the car.
Get educated.
Does that make sense, Locke?
Get educated.
In politics, we don't. This is the most important decision we make outside of our families' safety and health. And our family's safety and health is connected to this decision. And we make it by letting somebody else buy the politicians, and we look at their television commercials.
Which are 30 seconds or less sometimes.
I was sick of it. And it's not, this is a nation in trouble, and this is a system that's been bought. Now, who bought the system? Let me talk about that.
All right, let's do it. Okay, and let's also give it perspective. You were Harvard educated, undergrad, and then an MBA in finance.
The Harvard Business School, right?
So you got expertise.
My professional training is as an economist and then a master's degree in banking, okay? Now, that doesn't make me the smartest guy in the world, but I know this subject. I know money, I know global competition, and I say America's in trouble. I say that we don't make things anymore. They're made in China. We've done that deliberately. Like Americans don't want to work. I don't believe that. These free trade agreements have opened our nation up to all sorts of skullduggery. We're in trouble. We have a high rate of unemployment. We have a high rate of dependence on government. I would like to have a debate in Congress about how to make this right. There are ways to solve this.
So the bottom line is we haven't fallen off the cliff so that we cannot survive as a nation, because a lot of people, you're hearing revolution talk and all that, and that's absolutely not necessary.
America's this close to victory. We're the best nation on earth. We're the best constructed. I think we have the best people. I'm very optimistic about America. But we've let ourselves be rented and bought by special interests. And I ran for president making this point. If you want to balance the budget fairly, if you want to create more jobs, if you want to have energy independence, if you want to have tax reform, the only way to do it is to have a Congress and president that's not owned by the special interests. So I'm going to run for president, $100 limit, no PAC money. I had 100,000 people give me money.
All 50 states?
All 50 states represented. The next nearest person to me was a guy named Ron Paul. He had 55,000 people. I had 100,000 people who
Amazing.
gave me an average of $15. I was free, they were free, and they're involved around the country now. I have a new organization called the reformproject.org, and we're trying to get this before Congress and make them change the law.
So you would say the answer to the problem is restrict the ability for politicians and the government-controlled functions to be bought.
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
Campaign reform. The solution are free men and women in free discussion making free decisions. You know who said that? Thomas Jefferson. You know who said that? Benjamin Franklin. It's still true today. And the way to do it, I think, is to require that all contributions be disclosed. No more under the table, hidden contributions.
Sunshine.
I don't care about limits. You can put limits on them, but what I want is disclosure.
All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines. Governor Buddy Roemer. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, and Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for letting us come into your homes for the last 10 years via Legal Lines. We hope that you've come to a greater understanding of how the law works and how the government works for you. So from all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and again, I'm very pleased to have on the show today Governor Buddy Roemer. Governor, you were talking about what needs to be done to change the system so that Americans are free and they're fully informed. Tell the folks about that.
We need a president who makes his Bill 1, House Bill 1, HB 1, to the Congress the first day he's president, that says we'll do the following things. We'll disclose all contributions. It'll be a federal law.
So you know who makes the contribution?
Whoever,
got their name.
You're free to contribute.
Okay.
But we need to know when and how much. Number two, it needs to be, the disclosure needs to be within 48 hours or you give it. Right now, there's some rules for disclosure, but they're after the election. You can give now, pick the, it's ridiculous. Yeah. In the age of the internet, we can do 48-hour disclosure. So that would be number two. Number three, I would not allow lobbyists to give checks.
And define lobbyists.
A lobbyist is a registered person in Washington. There's a rule for lobbyists. They register as a lobbyist and they are allowed to petition a member of Congress or a president about certain subjects. GE has 150 lobbyists. Amgen has 74 lobbyists. They paid these guys and ladies to get changes in the bill for their benefit.
So they have access to the people in power, and a lot of those lobbyists are former politicians, correct?
That's how they do. I mean, Louisiana's had, I won't mention the former members of Congress who are now lobbyists.
Okay.
But we have a lot of them.
All right, so
that's the system. It's a corrupt system.
All right.
You're chairman of a committee, and you regulate certain industry, and then you resign one day, and the next day you're getting a $2 million payroll check from the industry you were regulating, and you petition Congress. It's a revolving door.
All right, so that's a lobbyist.
I would have a 7-year rule that if you're a member of Congress or a senator or a president, you cannot lobby for 7 years afterwards. I would have full disclosure. I would have a 48-hour rule. I would have that lobbyists couldn't bring a check. You can bring an idea, but you can't pay off a congressman. I would make those 5 changes. You could do it the first day, and you would change America. We could then grapple with tax reform. You can't do it now because the special interests won't let you do. Our good governor, Bobby Jindal, is trying to do tax reform. I guarantee you, the biggest screams are from those who have special breaks in the tax code. They don't want to lose that. Guess who they are? They hire lobbyists. They pay members of the legislature. Don't make the change to me. How can you run a government when it's bought? What did Abraham Lincoln say? By the people, for the people, of the people. Now it's by the special interest, of the lobbyist, for the lobbyist. It's not right, Locke.
Governor, what do you think about term limits? To me, a lot of these politicians are there for 30 years or more. It's like a little kingdom almost.
Well, you know, for a while we didn't have term limits on the President of the United States.
That's right.
It was debated in the 1780s when the Constitution was written, and they decided that a free people would be free to choose whomever they pleased. But they did begin to put certain limits. You have to be 25 years or older to be a member of Congress. Well, that takes away some of our freedom. I mean, so I think term limits are good. I introduced the first term limits bill in Congress in the 20th century in 1981.
Wow.
Tip O'Neill, I was a Democrat then, a conservative Democrat, head of the Boll Weevils. Tip O'Neill called me and he says, Roemer, you can't do that. I said, well, I can, Mr. Speaker. And it's not personal. I just think that 12 years is enough time in any one job, including congressman. We didn't pass it, but we got a lot of votes for it. There is a term limit bill in Congress now. 87 members of Congress have signed it. We're pushing for that to be one of the political reforms we make. Campaign reform, term limits, and reapportionment. ought to be done differently to take away the thieves in the building, get them out of it, and put the people in.
Let's talk about your experience. 17 months on the road, traveling all over the place in the United States of America, and you were on platforms where you were talking with all the people who were on TV, Mitt Romney and others.
Yeah, I got to be friends of I was a Republican in the Republican primary. They had 23 national debates in the Republican primary last year.
Way too many in my...
I was invited to none.
Amazing.
And what happened? And I was the only guy running who had been a congressman and a governor. So you'd have thought that maybe we wanted to see what Roemer's got to say. Well, they knew what I had to say. There was a meeting in Iowa in February in 2011, 2 years ago, when I started. And Mitt Romney was there, Newt Gingrich was there, Tim Pawlenty was there, and others. Herman Cain.
All the names.
All the major names were there. And this religious group, this family forum, invited me to speak. And afterwards they took a poll among the 1,500 members who were there in the audience. And I won. It was very interesting. I deliberately gave a different kind of speech. I said, I love America, the nation's in trouble. Let's throw the thieves out of the temple. Let the people get back in. Here's the way I would do it. And I would start in Iowa. This was in Iowa. And these were farmers.
Right.
I said, I would do away with the ethanol subsidy.
Which probably not real popular there.
No. But you know, they gave me a standing O when I was few. I said, I will ask every American to give something. I will ask you to give something. Give up your ethanol subsidy. It's not a good subsidy. We've had it for 20 years. You should have grown out of it. I'll take it back and we'll offset the debt with it. I got a standing O. 71% of the people voted for me. And it was either Newt Gingrich or Mitt Romney afterwards came up to me and said, Buddy, you'll not be on another debate. That's what they told me. And it was true.
And the reason was why?
Because I was talking about an issue that they couldn't afford me to talk about. And that is the money in politics and how Washington was bought and how the Republicans were bought just as much as the Democrats. They were just bought by different people.
All right, so let's talk about, you know, we talked about the new media. I mean, here you are 69
awesome.
And you're plugged in with Twitter
awesome.
and Facebook and all the stuff. 20,000 Facebook likes. I think it was 30,000 tweets, followers, and then 200,000 views of your videos.
Yeah,
amazing.
My videos just were like a firestorm.
You got quite an audience.
I was very lucky.
So what do you do with that, Governor?
Well, I'm struggling with that because I love being back in Louisiana and I don't want to be in Washington. I'm not a lobbyist. But we formed an organization called the Reform Project.
Okay.
.org. Let me say it again, the reformproject.org. I want your audience to get on the reformproject.org and see what we're doing. Doesn't cost you any money. We're going to keep this issue alive.
All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Governor Buddy Roemer. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, and Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for letting us come into your homes for the last 10 years via Legal Lines. We hope that you've come to a greater understanding of how the law works and how the government works for you. So from all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. Again, I'm very pleased to have on the show Governor Buddy Roemer. Governor, let's dive right back in. You know, you've had this huge experience for 17 months talking to folks all over America, being received very well in a lot of venues. And as a result, you have a significant audience.
Yeah.
And you've set up this organization. Tell the folks what it is that's accomplished by going to your website. What happens?
The reformproject.org is the way you get there. Very simple. And you'll discover when you get there the two things that we're trying to do. We're trying to publicize the the purchase of our politicians. We're trying to publicize the role that special interest makes in stopping America from cleaning up this
So
mess.
shine the light on corruption and policies that result from it.
I think it's the best way to eliminate it.
Okay.
Sunshine is a powerful disinfectant.
Okay.
The second thing we're doing is that we're giving good publicity to politicians who join us. There are over 100 members of Congress, new members of Congress, and others who are supporting our moves for campaign reform,
excellent,
term limits. So we have we're going to try to pass a couple of bills that do that. It'd be much easier if we had the president. We don't have the president. I'm very disappointed in him in this regard.
Well, and Governor, let's point out, you started in politics as a Democrat, then you were a Republican, and now you're an independent.
Independent, right.
And that's because of your experience.
Well, my experience, it may be my enemies say it's because I can't stay hitched to a party. And they're right. I mean, as a conservative Democrat, I found out there was no room in my party for conservative. If anything, the Democratic Party has moved further to the left.
Truly.
Quite. And the Republican Party, I proudly joined the Republican Party 25 years ago. I always support what it tries to do. But I found out in this bid for campaign reform, they didn't want reform.
Not interested.
They weren't not interested. You know what they're interested in? Getting reelected.
Status quo.
Status quo. My
Keep it the
pocketbook.
same.
I mean, I'm just...
Even though it's broke and can't get anything done.
Well, it's broke and they won't fix it because brokenness is not its problem. It's the fact that it's bought that's the problem.
They don't want it.
And my approach was to unbuy it, take it back. Then we can fix the brokenness. And I would, if I were president, I would pick independents, Republicans, and Democrats to work on the team. We need a full team.
Right.
North and South, East and West, white and black, Democrat, Republicans, and Independent. We need to put the best team on the field. I know I sound like Les Miles or Nick Saban, but it's true.
It is true. Because we're not getting, I mean, we are, at least my opinion, we are more divided in this country than we've ever been in every way possible.
I've never seen it quite this way. And yet, let me say this about America. We've made progress. If you're a woman in America, you have certain rights now afforded you that you didn't when my three sisters were young and I was a baby boy on a farm in North Louisiana. I mean, my mother was obviously a strong woman. She's still alive at 89.
Wow.
Her mother couldn't vote. So this country has made progress. Blacks, African Americans have made tremendous progress. I love it. I love America.
The system's there if it's used correctly.
We don't need a revolution. And there's nothing wrong with America that we can't fix. Just get the special interests and thieves out of our pocketbooks and let's run the country.
So the project is shining the light on corruption and the players that do it and the policies by which it's implemented. It's identifying the advocates, the politicians
who are standing up,
who want to change things.
Who are standing up. And we're getting calls now from congressmen and senators who are not yet on our side, but who are talking about it.
So the folks who go there can see who they are and say, hey, we're behind you.
Write a letter.
Communicate.
Send a letter to me. Write a letter to your congressman saying, look, I'm part of the reform movement. Are you with us?
Okay, excellent. Let's shift gears a little bit, talk about Louisiana. First of all, I know there's a lot of folks who've been contacting you about maybe running for United States Senator. Is that going to happen?
Not a lot of people, maybe 3 or 4. You know, and to most politicians, that's a landslide. You know, I got all these calls. No, I'm not running for the United States Senate. I'm a citizen in Louisiana. I have a business here. It's doing very well. Our bank, if you mind me saying, Business First Bank is a business bank that's $750 million in size.
Wow, that's impressive.
With the help of others, I started
here. I remember
6 years ago.
That's
I started with zero. So this is the 3rd bank that I've started and built. Louisiana's a great place for me. I'm not going anywhere. And I like what Bobby Gentle's trying to do.
Education is a huge issue.
Education is the key. He's picked the right priority.
So you're 100% behind what he's done.
100%.
Trying to accomplish.
Children first. Every plan needs more debate, more discussion. I don't mind that. I know he's impatient, as governors are. Let's debate it, Bobby, but he's on the right path.
And you've talked about possibly having another meeting of governors to sit down with him and just give
on a
y'all's
part of
perspective.
education, which is higher education. I don't think we're doing higher education as well as we should.
So what's wrong?
It's disorganized. I mean, the Marine Corps can tell you that on a battlefield, organization is the key.
So you need one at the top.
Need one at the top. We need a single board for higher education.
And we've got, what, 4?
4 boards now. LSU has a board, Southern has a board, Board of Trustees, and a Board of Regents, I think it's called now. 4 boards. North Carolina had 5 boards 25 years ago. They went to 1 board. They are so far ahead of us in higher education now. We also need funding for higher education from a source different from the budget. I would consider a in-ground tax on oil and gas.
Okay.
Texas does that. We have a severance tax. We only tax oil and gas when it's severed, when it leaves the ground. So big companies buy a lot of land in Louisiana and leave the oil and gas under it until the price gets high. Then they sever it and pay a little tax. What I would do would be to let them, they buy all this land, let them pay a little tax. It would be dedicated to higher education, just like Texas has done. Texas A&M and University of Texas, you ever wonder why they grow? They have a dedicated tax that is not changed by the legislature. This goes directly to them. So I would reorganize higher education and I would dedicate a very low tax rate of oil and gas in the ground to LSU and the other higher schools.
Now let's point out that during your administration as governor, you got TOPS through. That's the program. Explain to folks.
TOPS is a good program that helps eligible high school seniors go to a Louisiana school, and it doesn't name a school, it's all Louisiana schools, with no tuition. And that's called the TOPS program.
That's keeping our kids here and getting them educated.
We passed it in 1988, 89 when I was governor. I was proud of it. The state was broke, but I said, we're not so broke that we can't help our kids. And by God, we did. We also opened the Pennington Biomedical Research Center here. I mean,
big deal.
There are things that can be done that a governor can do. And I like what Bobby's doing with economic development, really. But we need to do more. We need to concentrate higher education, K through 12.
Governor, thank you so much for
being
on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to doing it again.
Thanks.
This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines, Governor Buddy Roemer. Thank you for being with us today.